Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Dr. Abdul Rahman and we are learning ECG. In the previous video, we have discussed in detail about P wave and PR intervals. In this video, we will discuss an important thing before moving further to QRS complex, and that is called supraventricular tachycardia or SVT. Let's go to our whiteboard. When I say SVT, what does I mean? It means that all the tachycardias originating above the level of bundle of His. We know that we have our SA node over here, AV node over here, followed by bundle of His, then right and left bundle branches. So all the tachycardias which will be originating above this black line will be supraventricular tachycardia. Now, depending upon the location of origin of supraventricular tachycardia, we can divide them into two main categories. The tachycardias which are originating above the level of AV node, or the tachycardias which are originating at the level of AV node. Okay, so if the tachycardia is originating above the level of AV node, they will be different, and if the tachycardias are originating at the level of AV node, they will be different, and we will discuss them separately. Okay, so what are the tachycardias which are originating above the level of AV node? They are sinus tachycardia, atrial tachycardia, junctional tachycardia, atrial fibrillation, and atrial flutter. And these tachycardias we have already discussed in previous videos. So let's see how. In case of sinus tachycardia, impulse or action potential was generating in the SA node. It was sinus tachycardia. If the action potential is generating somewhere or any focus in the atria, it will be atrial tachycardia, or we have multifocal atrial tachycardia. If the action potential is originating from pulmonary veins, it might be atrial fibrillation. If the action potential is generating at the junction of inferior vena cava and right atrium, it can be atrial flutter. And if the action potential was generating in the junctional area, it was junctional tachycardia or junctional rhythm. So depending upon the origin of tachycardias, we divided them in two categories: above AV node, at the level of AV node. So these tachycardias we have discussed before. Now you might be thinking that why I have divided them on the basis of AV node, why I put the cutoff of AV node in these tachycardias. I will give you the reason. Because AV node is very important in determining two things. One, in determining the rate of these tachycardias, and second, it is important in determining the shape of QRS complex. Due to these two reasons, I have divided them into two categories or upon the basis of AV node. If any impulse which will be originating above the level of AV node, as sinus tachy, atrial fibrillation, anyone, if it is originating anywhere, no matter from where it is originating, it will ultimately go to AV node, right? All of these impulses will ultimately go to AV node. It will pass through AV node, it will pass through bundle of His, and then right and left bundle branches. So in other words, all of these tachycardias will be following a normal conducting pathway, which is the normal fast conducting pathway of heart. That is why the QRS complex will be narrower in all of these tachycardias. This is one thing. Second thing, the rate. We know that our AV node acts as a buffer in determining the rate of ventricular depolarization. Our ventricle cannot cope with very high rate. If there will be very high rate of depolarization like in 300s, then ventricle cannot cope with that and it will go to ventricular fibrillation. And this fact we discussed when we were discussing atrial flutter in detail, because the flutter waves are usually at the rate of 300 beats per minute, and AV node act as a buffer. It will block some of those waves and it will allow some of those waves, maybe 150 or 75 or 100 beats, to pass through AV node to protect the ventricle from very rapid rate. So this applies to all of these tachycardias which will follow the normal conducting pathway and which will depolarize ventricle after passing through AV node. So this is due to this reason, all of these tachycardias, one, they will be narrow complex, two, their rate will not be more than 200 beats per minute. Mostly it will be 180, 170 beats per minute, but on the safer side I will say the rate will not be more than 200 beats per minute, because AV node will not allow them to conduct more than this. Okay, this is the upper limit of conduction of our AV node. Now let's come to the tachycardias which originate at the level of AV node. So these tachycardias are called, we call them as re-entrant tachycardias. Why they are re-entrant tachycardias, we will discuss in detail, because actually they will re-enter into the same circuit and they will keep on circulating in the same circuit and re-enter it. So due to their physiology, their name is re-entrant tachycardia, and they are of two types. They can be AV nodal re-entrant tachycardia or AV re-entrant tachycardia. If the re-entry circuit is in the AV node itself, it is AV nodal re-entrant tachycardia. If the re-entry circuit is not in the AV node, rather it is in the atrioventricular junction, then we will call them as AV nodal re-entry, AV re-entry tachycardia, not nodal. So first let's discuss AV nodal re-entry tachycardia, then we will come to the AV re-entry tachycardia as well. AV nodal re-entry tachycardia is very important. Whenever in your clinical practice, if someone is saying that okay, that patient is in SVT, most of the time, more than 90% of the time, it is, what does he mean, that clinician mean? It will mean that that patient is in AV NRT, because SVT is broadly, we use SVT for AV NRT. We don't use SVT to say that someone is in atrial flutter or atrial fibrillation or sinus tachycardia. When we use SVT, it means it is AV nodal re-entry tachycardia. It is not good to use. We should use the exact term, but it is how it is. So anyhow, let's discuss what happened in AV nodal re-entry tachycardia. This is our AV node. Our AV node receives impulses from atria from above. We know that, right? And it will conduct impulses to bundle of his from the other end. Our AV node has two types of pathway to conduct impulse through the AV node, and this pathway, one is faster pathway and the other one is slower pathway. Okay, the faster pathway is having two characteristics. First one, it is fast, and second one, it has long refractory period. On the other hand, our slower pathway, it is also having two characteristics. First one, it is slow, and second one, it is having short refractory period. What is meant by refractory period? We know that refractory period is the period during which we cannot generate another impulse in a specific nerve, fiber or any conducting tissue. In any conducting tissue, if some conducting tissue is in the refractory period, we cannot generate another action potential during that period. No matter what is the amplitude of the action potential, no matter what is how fast the conducting pathway is, if it is in the refractory period, we cannot generate another action potential during that period. We have to wait for that period to end, and then we will be able to generate another impulse. This is the detail about refractory period. So the fast pathways are fast with longer refractory period, and slow pathways are slow but they have shorter refractory period. So let's see what happens. When our impulse from atria reaches at this point, it has two options. Either it can take slower pathway or it can take faster pathway, but because impulse action potential doesn't know, it will just follow any circuit. So some of the action potential will go to the slower pathway and some of the action potential will follow the faster pathway. And because faster pathway is faster, it will reach at this point earlier as compared to the one who started from the slower pathway, and the action potential which was following slower pathway, you can say that it might be reaching over here. It was here, and at that point our faster conducting pathway reached the other end of the AV node. Then at this end again, it will be having two options. Either it will go and depolarize the ventricle or enter to the circuit, and again the action potential doesn't know, it will just follow the circuit. So it has two circuits. Some of it will go to the ventricle and depolarize the ventricle, and the other one, it will just go back from the slower pathway, right? And it will follow the slower pathway, and at some point it will meet the action potential which was coming from the outside, and they will cancel out each other's effect, and the story will end over here. That's the end of the story. So again the cycle will repeat. Action potential from atria will reach here, it will follow both pathway, reach is other end earlier from the faster pathway and depolarize the ventricle. Some of it will go back to the slower pathway and they will cancel out each other. This pathway will wait for its refractory period, and then another impulse come, and the story will continue for indefinite period of time. So this is what is happening normally. Now let's see what happened in case of AV nodal re-entry tachycardia. In AV nodal re-entry tachycardia, the AV nodal re-entry tachycardia need some trigger, and that trigger will be either premature atrial complex or premature junctional complex. If you remember from my lecture about these, let's remind you again. So we have a baseline, and this was our normal action potential. And what happened in premature complexes, whether it is atrial, junctional or ventricular, our complex, which was our QRS complex, which was supposed to be here, it came earlier than expected. So that is why it is called premature atrial or junctional complex. So it was supposed to be over here, but it came earlier. That is why it was called, we call them as premature complex. Premature atrial or junctional complex, usually they are asymptomatic, but sometime it can lead to AV nodal re-entry tachycardia. I will explain how it happens. So let's see, our normal conduction through AV node was happening as I explained in this photo, but all of a sudden we have some electrolyte abnormality, you can say, or anything, or any focus in the atria or any focus in the junction, it depolarized prematurely, and the QRS complex or depolarization wave reaches AV node earlier than expected. So before, so let's say what happened when this impulse came. When this impulse came, the blue color, this was the first impulse. When this impulse came, it followed this pathway, reached here and depolarized the ventricle and cancel out the other counterpath over here. So this happened normally. Then next impulse was supposed to come at this level, but it came earlier. You can say it came 2 seconds earlier than expected. So the red wave, it came earlier than it was expected. So when the red wave came, our fibers in the fast pathway were still in refractory period. You get my point? Because their refractory period was longer. Their refractory period was according to the previous heart rate, which you can say after 4 seconds refractory period was supposed to end, and after 4 seconds an impulse was supposed to come normally, and it will, if it was after 4 seconds, it would have conducted normally. But now the impulse came earlier 2 seconds earlier than it was expected. So our fiber, these fast conducting pathway is still in the refractory period. What does it mean? It will not allow any impulse to pass through, no matter it is fast pathway, no matter the impulse amplitude is too much, it is very high amplitude, it doesn't matter, because this pathway is totally closed. Now the premature atrial complex which reached over here, it has only one option, to follow the slower pathway. So it will follow the slower pathway and it will ultimately reach the other end of the AV node. When it will reach here, by this time the refractory period is finished. Now it is open and available for any impulse to be conducted. Now refractory period is finished. Now again at this point what will happen? Some of it will go to the ventricle and depolarize the ventricle as was happening normally, and the other part will go retrogradely. Okay, so when the other, I will just cancel this thing. So some of them will go retrogradely, and now at this moment we don't have anything coming from there. We don't have any impulse, because if you remember from my lecture from premature complexes have another property that if some wave came earlier, there will be a compensatory pause before the next one. So if this RR interval is shorter, this one will be a little bit longer, and then again normal RR interval will continue. So the next wave, it will come longer than expected. Mature atrial complex came earlier, and the next will take a little bit more time. So there is no wave coming from this side. So that is why this wave will go all the way back to its origin again over here. So when it will go here, now again it is present here. Again it is having two options, either to follow the slower pathway, rather it is having three options, either to follow the slower pathway, or to follow the faster pathway, or to go back to the atria, right? Because faster pathway just depolarized, they are again in refractory period, because they are depolarized when they conducted impulse retrogradely. They are again in refractory period. So if they are again in refractory period, so this pathway is again blocked. So it is having two options, go back to the atria and depolarize the atria and follow the slower pathway. So it will do like this. Some of the impulse will go back to the atria and depolarize the atrium, and the other will follow the slower pathway again. And again it will reach over here, and again the same thing will continue. So what will happen ultimately? There will be a constant re-entry of the circuit. So it will be like this. The impulse will continuously re-enter into the circle and continuously depolarize the ventricle and depolarize the atria as well. Now there is one more thing to be noted, because the atria is depolarized from AV node. Previously, normally what was happening, atria were depolarized from something above the level of AV node, and if they were depolarizing above the level of AV node, they were coming to AV node, and AV node was acting as a buffer mechanism and slowing some of the heart rate, and then it was conducted to the ventricle. But now at this moment there is no buffering mechanism, and atria are depolarized retrogradely. That's why in case of supraventricular tachycardias, mean AV nodal re-entry tachycardia, either we will depolarize AV node at the same time when we are depolarizing the ventricle, and we will not see any P wave, or we will depolarize atria a little bit after, then we will depolarize the ventricle, or we will see that P wave will be after QRS complex. So in case of AV nodal re-entry tachycardia, there will be 2 to 3 things. First, heart rate will be more than 200. Second, it will be narrow complex. Why it is narrow complex? Because ultimately it will go to bundle of His, and ultimately it will follow the normal fast conducting pathway. It will be narrow complex. Third, it will be regular. Mostly it will be regular, because there is no point to be its irregularity. It will be just constantly pacing the ventricle at the same rate. Fourth, there will be no P wave, or if there is any P wave will be after QRS. So these are some of the characteristics of ECG of AV nodal re-entry tachycardia. Okay, so now let's see what happened in AV re-entry tachycardia. In AV re-entry tachycardia, there is no problem in the node itself. This is our heart, SA node and AV node. AV re-entry tachycardia doesn't occur in normal people. It will not occur. It will be only present if someone is having some accessory pathway. like in WPW syndrome. We have discussed in my previous video this WPW syndrome. In WPW syndrome, we can have accessory pathway on the either side, right or left side, and that accessory pathway allows impulses to bypass atria and directly depolarize the ventricle from these conducting pathway, and they will depolarize the ventricle earlier, and this will cause generation of a delta wave. We discussed in detail everything. Now here we will discuss AV re-entry tachycardia. The whole WPW syndrome or these accessory pathway will help in generation of AV re-entry tachycardia. So let's see what happen. Our impulse start from SA node or any node in the atria. It will reach AV node normally. After reaching AV node, it will depolarize the ventricle. That is good thing. But what happens? Some of the impulse take this accessory pathway to go retrogradely and complete a circle like this. So when this will happen, a circle will be created, and it will re-enter again and again, and this type of tachycardia will be AV re-entry tachycardia. It is not within the node, it is around the node, and it will be with the help of an accessory pathway. If there is no accessory pathway, there will be no AV re-entry tachycardia. So this re-entry can be from the either direction. It can be from this direction. This direction means from AV node, it is going towards the ventricle, and from accessory pathway, it is going back to the atria. If it is the pathway is like this, we called it as orthodromic AVRT. It is orthodromic circuit. And if it is opposite means it is depolarizing the ventricle from the accessory pathway and re-entering the atria from AV node. The opposite. If it is depolarizing the ventricle from AV node, it is orthodromic. If it is depolarizing the ventricle from accessory pathway, it is antidromic. It is antidromic AVRT. I am stressing upon orthodromic and antidromic because it is important to know whether the rhythm is orthodromic or antidromic, because it will define our treatment. Okay, so now just imagine how the ECG will be formed. If you went through my videos and know the basis of ECG, it will be very easy to generate the ECG. In case of orthodromic, what is happening? We are following a normal pathway. AV node to bundle of each, two bundle branches. The pathway is normal, so the QRS complex will be narrower. Simple. In case of orthodromic AVRT, our QRS complex will be narrower, while in case of antidromic AVRT, our QRS complex will be broad. Why? Because it is not following the normal conducting pathway. It is following the accessory pathway to depolarize the ventricle, and then it is going back from the atria, from the AV node. So in case of antidromic, QRS complex will be wide. In case of orthodromic, QRS complex will be narrow. So you can say that orthodromic AVRT, you can ask the question that how will we differentiate orthodromic AVRT from AVNRT, because in AVNRT also QRS complex was narrow and there was no P wave. Then the answer will be, as we cannot differentiate usually on the basis of ECG, especially when the rhythm is very fast, we cannot differentiate that whether it is orthodromic AVRT or it is AVNRT. We will treat the patient, we will slow the heart rate, and after slowing the heart rate, we will find some delta wave which will be pathognomic for WPW syndrome. After treatment, when we will be finding a delta wave, then we will say that okay, yes, this was not AVNRT, this was orthodromic AVRT. So this is not important, and this is there is no, because the treatment of AVNRT and orthodromic AVRT will be same. Now let's go to the treatment as well. The treatment, as you know that in AVRT, impulse is going through AV node, so we will give the medicine which will block our AV node. So we will block the AV node, we will block the ventricular depolarization, and we will reset the circuit. This is the simple thing in orthodromic AVRT. Similarly in AVNRT, what we will do? We will give AV nodal blockers. We will block the AV node, we will shut down everything, and then again the circuit will reset to default and it will be normalized. On the other hand, in case of antidromic AVRT, that is why antidromic AVRT we should know about the difference. If the rhythm is antidromic, if the complex is wide, we will not give AV node blockers, because if we give AV node blocker and we block the AV node, then what will happen? If previously 70% of impulses were following the accessory pathway, now if we block the AV node, 100% of the impulses will start following the accessory pathway, and we will exacerbate the problem. So in case of antidromic AVRT, we will not give AV node blockers. And what are the AV node blockers? A, B, C, D and L. We will give adenosine, we will give beta blocker, we will give calcium channel blocker, we will give digoxin, and we will give lidocaine to AVNRT or orthodromic AVRT, but we will not give this medication to antidromic AVRT, right? So this was all about our supraventricular tachycardias. I have some of the ECGs to discuss with you. So let's take them one by one. First of all, this is tachycardia, right? This is tachycardia. We know that the rate, it is very fast rate. It is almost 180, you can say, or maybe more than 200. Rate is almost more than 200 because there is only one big square in between, and it will 200 or 250. Anyhow, regarding this rate thing, we will discuss later in some video in the end. But it is tachycardia, it is regular rhythm. The rhythm is also regular. Now let's see what type of rhythm it is. Look for the P wave. Can you find any P wave? Anywhere? There is no P wave. No P wave, regular tachycardia, heart rate more than 200. It is AVNRT, AV nodal re-entered tachycardia. No P wave. Why no P wave? Because P wave is buried beneath QRS complex. Rate is more than 200. Why rate is more than 200? Because the origin is in the AV node and it is regular complex. Simple. Okay, let's take this second ECG. What is the rate? The rate will be maybe around 120. It is not too much. Okay, so now what type of rhythm it is? Look for the P wave. Can you find any P wave? There is no P wave. But look closely. If you look closely, you can find this one, this one, this one, this one. So these are the P waves. T wave is here. What is this? This will be P wave. This will be P wave. So in this case, P wave is coming after QRS complex. Okay. So if P wave is coming after QRS complex, there is no P wave before QRS complex. QRS complex is narrow. Rhythm rate is almost 120. So in this case, the rate is not too fast, but again this rhythm is AV nodal re-entry tachycardia. So when we will treat it with adenosine or any beta blocker, what will happen? If we repeat the ECG, the P wave will again come before QRS complex and it will be normal rhythm. Okay. So tachycardia, one thing. Second thing, no P wave before QRS complex. And third thing, rhythm is regular. Let's go next one. So there is tachycardia. Rate is almost 150. Okay. If rate is almost 150, look for the P wave. You have any P wave? No P wave. Rhythm is regular. If rhythm was irregular, no P wave, 150 rate, it would be AFib. But the rhythm is irregular. Rhythm is regular. That is why it is not AFib. So it is tachycardia. One thing. Rhythm is regular. Two thing. Third thing. Where is P wave? We cannot find any P wave. Look closely. We can have some P waves over here. Okay. Either no P wave or some P waves after QRS complex, which we called pseudo R waves as well. So because P wave is coming after QRS complex, again it is AVNRT. It is narrow complex. We will treat with adenosine, beta blocker, digoxin, calcium channel blockers. So what is happening over here? Rate almost 150. it is one thing tachycardia. Second, regular. Third, look for P waves. Where are the P waves? So P waves are very important. In this case, we have P wave after QRS complexes. This is P wave, this is T wave. This is P wave, this is P wave. Okay, again, this is P wave, this is T wave. So again, the QRS complex will be. And look, another thing, there is a good thing in this AVR. We have learned before that in AVR, P wave will be negative, but in this one, P wave is positive. Why it is positive? Because it is depolarizing retrogradely from AV node to atria, and our AVR was located over here and it is going towards the atria. Our QRS complex is negative, but P wave is positive. Anyhow, so this is again P wave is coming after that. It is again AV nodal re-entry tachycardia. Okay. Next ECG. Tachycardia, yes, heart rate more than 200. Okay, this is one thing. Second, regular, yes, it is tachycardia, one thing. Second thing, it is regular, look for P wave. Third thing, no P wave. No P wave, we cannot see any P wave even after that. Is QRS complex is broad? No, it is not broad. If it is not broad, we have two options. Either it is AV and RT, or second it is AVRT of orthodromic type. It doesn't matter, we will treat them in the same way. After treating, if the P wave came earlier than QRS complex and we couldn't find any delta wave, it is AV and RT. If after treatment we found any delta wave, it is AVRT of orthodromic type, and I think there is a small delta wave I can see over here. So maybe after treatment the delta wave will be more clear, so we will be having the diagnosis of ECG. But at this ECG we cannot say with certainty that what type of rhythm it is. So let's take this one. Rhythm is regular, it is tachycardia, we have no P wave. So we have either AV-NRT or orthodromic type of AV-NRT or orthodromic AV-RT. Simple. We will treat them same because it is not broad complex tachycardia. We will treat with the same thing, and after that we will diagnose what type of rhythm was that. In this one, rhythm is regular. Yes, rhythm is regular. Tachycardia, yes, it is tachycardia. Rhythm, and one thing, QRS is broad. QRS is broad. What does it mean? That it is not following the normal pathway. It is following accessory pathway. If it is following accessory pathway, rhythm is broad. It is AVRT. Which type? Antidromic. In antidromic type, we will not give AV nodal blocker. We will give other medication like lidocaine, not lidocaine, amiodarone or procainamide or VV cardiovert if it is hemodynamically unstable. So this will be our last ECG. What is our rate? It is more than 200. So it is tachycardia. Rhythm is regular. P wave. We can find any P wave. P wave. P wave. No clear P wave. Okay, no P wave. And rhythm. And what is the QRS complex? QRS complex is broad. Broad QRS complex. No P wave. Regular tachycardia. It is AVRT antidromic type. So again we will treat with amiodarone or DC cardioversion if hemodynamically unstable. So this was all about the tachycardia. Thank you.